It started with a single picture, one blurry, late-night shot that turned Mendeecees and Yandy's world upside down. A woman's silhouette, her hand resting on his shoulder. The two caught in what looked like an intimate moment inside a dimly lit lounge. Within hours, that photo was everywhere. Fans flooded timelines with disbelief, and the internet exploded with one burning question: who is the mystery woman? For years, Mendeecees and Yandy had been the picture of perseverance, the couple who survived prison, public scrutiny, and reality TV chaos. They built their love in front of millions, turning heartbreak into a brand of loyalty. But this time, even Yandy's patience seemed to reach its breaking point. The calm, collected woman who once said, "Love is worth fighting for," now looked tired, distant, and ready to walk away. Sources close to the couple say this scandal didn't appear out of nowhere. Whispers had been circling for weeks, rumors of Mendeecees being spotted at a downtown hotel, of late-night texts from an unknown number, and of Yandy quietly removing old photos from her social media. At first, fans brushed it off as gossip, but when that viral clip surfaced showing Mendeecees walking hand in hand with Jasmine, the same woman rumored to have been involved in past drama, it shattered everything. In that short clip, you can hear someone calling out his name, and Mendeecees' reaction said it all. He froze, his hand slipped from Jasmine's, and his face went pale. The video ended there, but the damage was done. Within minutes, #Mendeecees cheating was trending, and Yandy's silence only made it worse. Everyone wanted answers. Why wasn't she denying it? Why wasn't she defending him? Behind the scenes, insiders say Yandy had already made her move. She'd been living separately for weeks, quietly preparing the papers while keeping her composure on camera. Those close to her say she was heartbroken, not just by the betrayal, but by the familiarity of it all, the way it mirrored past lies she thought she'd healed from. "She's done pretending," one friend revealed. "She told me this time, she's really done." Meanwhile, Mendeecees has stayed quiet, neither confirming nor denying the rumors. His silence has fans torn, some defending him, others convinced the truth has already spoken for itself. And as more unseen footage begins to surface, showing Jasmine and Mendeecees together at multiple events, the tension only deepens. What really happened that night? Was this just a misunderstanding? Or has Mendeecees once again let temptation destroy everything he built with Yandy? Stay tuned, because this story is about to unfold in ways no one saw coming, and by the end, even Yandy's most loyal supporters may be forced to question everything they believed about love, loyalty, and the price of fame. The morning after the viral video hit the internet, the world around Mendeecees and Yandy felt like it had tilted off its axis. The calm was gone. Paparazzi camped outside their Atlanta home. Fans were dissecting every second of footage, and even the closest people in their circle were choosing sides. Yandy hadn't spoken publicly yet, but her silence was louder than any statement. She had been quiet before, but never like this. No captions, no posts, no appearances, just silence, and the world could feel the weight of it. People close to her said she was broken, pacing her house late into the night, staring at her phone with red eyes that hadn't closed for hours. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was seen leaving his friend's recording studio, hood pulled low, face tight. He didn't say a word to the photographers. A few fans yelled out, "Is it true?" He didn't answer. Instead, he walked straight to his car, slammed the door, and drove off into the night. The way he sped away only fueled more rumors. If it wasn't true, why wasn't he defending himself? Why wasn't he fighting for Yandy like she always fought for him? Inside sources claimed that Yandy had already confronted him days before the video went public. Apparently, she'd received screenshots, messages between Mendeecees and Jasmine that went back weeks. One of them read, "Can't wait to see you again." Another said, "Last night was crazy." Those texts were enough to shatter the last bit of peace Yandy had been clinging to. She'd held it in long enough. One night, when he walked through the door, she was waiting in the living room, arms crossed, phone in hand. "Who is she?" she asked, voice trembling but controlled. Mendeecees froze, his face drained of color. "You're trippin', Yandy," he said, trying to brush it off. But her eyes didn't move. She just stared at him like she was seeing a stranger in her home. "Don't insult me," she whispered. "Just tell me the truth." He sighed, rubbed his face, and muttered something about people setting him up, but the damage was done. She'd already seen the messages. She'd already seen the photos. She didn't need his explanation anymore. The next morning, Yandy packed a small suitcase. She didn't make a scene, didn't cry in front of him. She just looked at him once and said, "I can't keep loving a version of you that doesn't exist anymore." Then she left. The door clicked shut, and Mendeecees sat there, staring at the space she'd just walked out of. For a man who'd built a reputation on keeping control, he suddenly looked powerless. That same day, Jasmine's name hit the blogs again. People started digging up old footage clips from past interviews where she'd hinted at unfinished business. Fans went wild. Screenshots, comparisons, theories. It was all over social media. One fan wrote, "If this is true, Yandy deserves better. She held him down for years." Another said, "This man will never change." Others defended him, saying people were making drama out of nothing. But the tide was already turning. As the rumors spread, Jasmine herself went quiet. No posts, no stories, no comments. Then, out of nowhere, she posted a cryptic message: "Some connections never die, no matter how much time passes." It didn't mention any names, but it didn't need to. The timing was enough. Yandy's fans flooded her comments, calling her out, demanding she stop playing with married men. Within hours, she deleted the post, but the screenshots lived on. Meanwhile, Mendeecees tried to call Yandy. She didn't answer. He texted her, begged her to talk. "You know me," he wrote. "You know I'd never do that to you." But she didn't respond. The truth was, she did know him. That was the problem. She'd been through this before: the denials, the excuses, the apologies that came too late. This time, she was done being the one who fixed what he broke. Their kids started to notice the tension. One of them asked why Daddy wasn't home anymore. Yandy smiled faintly and said, "Daddy's busy right now." She didn't want them to see the pain behind her calm voice, but children sense everything. Even the walls of their house felt colder without him there. The laughter that once filled their evenings had been replaced by whispers and sighs. By the end of that week, producers from Love and Hip Hop had already reached out. They wanted to know if Yandy was ready to address the rumors on camera. She said no. For the first time, she didn't want to turn pain into content. She wanted space, real space to think, to breathe, to feel something that wasn't confusion or betrayal. But the world didn't give her that luxury. The story was too big now. Blogs were calling it the Mendeecees Jasmine affair, and every outlet wanted a statement. Then came the real twist. An anonymous source leaked a video showing Mendeecees and Jasmine at a private event 3 weeks before the scandal broke. The clip showed them laughing, leaning close, sharing what looked like an inside joke. It wasn't incriminating on its own, but to the public, it was proof enough. The caption read, "So this is the woman." And once again, the internet caught fire. Yandy watched that clip in silence. She was sitting on her bed, phone in hand, tears streaming down her face, not because of what she saw, but because of what it confirmed. She'd always believed that love could survive anything if you fought hard enough, but maybe she was wrong. Maybe love wasn't supposed to feel like a battlefield. Maybe it was supposed to feel safe. Mendeecees showed up at her door 2 nights later. No cameras, no entourage, just him and his guilt. She opened the door halfway, arms folded, face unreadable. "Can we talk?" he asked softly. She hesitated, then nodded. He stepped inside, eyes darting around like he wasn't sure if he still belonged there. "I know what it looks like," he started, "but it's not what you think." Yandy gave a short, humorless laugh. That's what every man says right before he loses everything. He tried to reach for her hand, but she pulled back. "Just tell me," she said quietly. "Did you sleep with her?" The room fell silent. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, finally, he whispered, "It wasn't like that." But the hesitation in his voice told her everything she needed to know. Tears welled up, but she held them back. "You could have just said yes," she murmured. "You didn't have to lie again." She walked away, leaving him standing in the living room, surrounded by the ghosts of everything they'd built together. He called after her, his voice cracking, but she didn't turn around. That night, he left the house again, and this time, it didn't feel temporary. By the next morning, fans noticed Yandy had changed her bio. The line that once read wife, mother, boss now simply said mother. It was small, but it spoke volumes. The internet erupted once more. "Yandy finally done." One fan tweeted. "She took him back too many times. This time, it's over." And somewhere deep down, even Mendeecees knew they were right. But still, he couldn't stay quiet forever. Within days, he sat down with a close friend on Instagram Live. "Y'all gotta stop believing everything you see," he said, shaking his head. "Me and Jasmine are friends. That's it." But his tone didn't match his words. The comment section lit up instantly, fans calling him out, accusing him of gaslighting, reminding him of his history. The more he talked, the worse it got. "Friends don't act like that," one comment said. "You got caught. Just admit it." And somewhere, watching that live, Yandy realized she wasn't angry anymore. She was just tired. Tired of defending him, tired of pretending things were fine, tired of holding together a story that no longer felt real. She turned off her phone, took a deep breath, and whispered to herself, "I'm done, for real this time." And for the first time in years, she actually meant it. The next morning, Yandy woke up to a silence she hadn't felt in years. No buzzing phone, no messages from producers, no noise from Mendeecees, pacing the hallway trying to fix what he broke. Just quiet. She made herself coffee, sat by the window, and stared out at the gray sky. The world outside was loud with gossip, but inside her home, everything finally felt still. She had deleted the last message thread with him the night before. That single act felt like cutting a cord that had been strangling her heart for too long. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was spiraling. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Managers, publicists, friends, everyone wanted to help him shape the narrative. "You need to get ahead of this, bro," one of them said over the phone. "Make a statement before she does." But every word felt empty. He sat in his car outside a downtown restaurant where he and Yandy once had their first date. Watching strangers walk by, remembering how she used to laugh when he'd try to impress her. Back then, everything had felt simple. Now, it felt like he was living in a story written by someone else, one where every decision came back to haunt him. That evening, a new video dropped. This time, it wasn't blurry or unclear. Jasmine was sitting in a car, laughing, and Mendeecees was right beside her. They weren't touching, but the way they looked at each other, comfortable, familiar, like two people with secrets, was enough. Fans immediately started dissecting it frame by frame. One fan slowed the video down and caught Mendeecees saying something that sounded like, "You know I miss you." The clip went viral within minutes. Yandy's phone began to vibrate non-stop. Texts, calls, notifications, all screaming the same thing. He did it again. She didn't answer any of them. She just turned the phone face down and walked to her kids' room. They were asleep, peaceful, and unaware of the chaos waiting outside their door. She knelt down, brushed a curl from her daughter's forehead, and whispered, "I'm sorry, baby. Mommy tried." Her voice broke on the last word. A day later, Jasmine decided to speak. She uploaded an Instagram story, a short clip where she said, "I didn't steal anybody's man. Sometimes people find their way back to each other. That's life." She smiled, calm and confident, like she'd been waiting for this moment. It was the spark that set everything ablaze. Comment sections exploded. People accused her of chasing fame. Others called her brave for telling her truth. But the ones who'd followed Yandy's journey knew what this really was: betrayal dressed in confidence. Producers reached out to Jasmine too, offering her a spot in the next season. It didn't take long before she started dropping hints, saying things like, "If they want real drama, they'll get it." Fans were disgusted, but also hooked. It was the kind of mess reality TV thrived on. And somewhere, Mendeecees watched the whole thing unfold in horror. He hadn't realized how far things would spiral. The more he tried to defend himself, the more guilty he looked. Behind closed doors, he was still trying to reach Yandy. He sent flowers, handwritten notes, even asked mutual friends to talk to her. One of them told him, "She's not angry, bro. She's done." That's worse. And it was, because Yandy wasn't looking for closure anymore. She was moving on. In the middle of all this, fans noticed she started following a few new accounts on social media, motivational pages, women's empowerment coaches, even one that said, "Healing is the most silent revenge." They knew what that meant. Yandy was rebuilding, piece by piece. While the world wanted drama, she wanted peace. Still, the story wouldn't die. A gossip site released screenshots of Jasmine allegedly bragging about the affair to a friend. One text read, "He said he's tired of her pretending everything perfect." Another said, "He told me I'm the only one who really listens." Whether they were real or not didn't matter anymore. The damage was done. By the time Mendeecees saw those texts, it was too late to fix anything. Yandy had already spoken to her lawyer. The internet went wild again when word leaked that divorce papers were being prepared. Fans couldn't believe it. "They've been through everything together," one comment said. "If this is true, love really doesn't last." But deep down, most people knew this wasn't sudden. It was years of loyalty slowly being eroded by small lies that built into one giant truth: he couldn't be trusted. Then came the night that broke everything wide open. Mendeecees showed up uninvited at a charity gala Yandy was hosting. Cameras caught him walking through the crowd, his expression desperate. She was on stage, thanking donors. When she saw him, her face froze for a split second, but she finished her speech like nothing happened. After the event, as the crowd began to thin, he approached her backstage. "Please," he said quietly, "just hear me out." She looked at him, eyes tired but steady. "You've said enough," she replied. There's nothing left to explain. He tried again, stepping closer. I made a mistake, Yandy. I got caught up. I didn't mean to hurt you. She exhaled sharply. You didn't mean to, she asked, her voice rising. You think pain is an accident? You think breaking our family is something that just happens? Someone nearby started recording on their phone. Fans would later say the moment felt like watching the end of a movie they never wanted to see. Mendeecees reached for her arm, but she pulled away. Don't touch me, she said, eyes glistening. Not here, not anymore. The clip surfaced hours later and racked up millions of views. Headlines screamed, Yandy confronts Mendeecees in public showdown. The footage showed her walking away, leaving him standing there surrounded by flashing cameras and whispers. For once, she wasn't the quiet one holding it together, she was the woman walking away from what no longer served her. After that night, she moved out of their shared home completely. Friends helped her relocate with the kids to a new apartment across town. It wasn't fancy or big, but it was peaceful. When asked about it, she told a close friend, I don't need a mansion to feel rich. Peace is the new luxury. But as she started rebuilding her life, Mendeecees began to crumble. He tried to act like he didn't care, posting motivational quotes and gym selfies, but insiders said he was drinking more, barely showing up to meetings, and snapping at people around him. One close friend admitted, he's lost. He knows what he did, and now he's realizing she was the only one who ever really had his back. Meanwhile, Jasmine kept feeding the fire. She posted a new selfie captioned, Fans tore her apart in the comments, but she didn't flinch. She was enjoying the attention, the cameras, the headlines, but not everyone was fooled. Even people who once defended her began to say she'd gone too far. And as the weeks passed, the distance between Yandy and Mendeecees turned into silence. No calls, no messages, no lingering what-ifs. She was done explaining herself, done apologizing for someone else's mistakes. For years, she had fought for love. Now, she was fighting for peace. But fate wasn't done with them yet, because the next headline would twist everything in a way that no one, not even Yandy, could have predicted. 2 weeks later, the world woke up to another shocker. A leaked voicemail began circulating on social media, allegedly between Mendeecees and Jasmine. The audio was muffled but clear enough to ignite chaos. His voice could be heard saying, "You know I can't keep this secret forever," followed by Jasmine's soft laugh and a response that made fans lose their minds. "Don't worry. I'll always keep you safe." It was short, less than 20 seconds, but in that small window, years of speculation turned into conviction. People didn't need more proof, they already believed what they wanted to believe. Within hours, the clip had millions of views, and Yandy's name was trending again for all the wrong reasons. By noon, paparazzi were outside her building, yelling questions. "Yandy, did you hear the audio? Is it real? Are you still filing for divorce?" She didn't say a word. She walked straight to her car, face hidden behind oversized sunglasses, jaw set. That silence only made people more desperate for answers. Talk shows picked up the story, fans began tagging her nonstop, and gossip blogs were calling it the most heartbreaking betrayal of the year. One headline even read, "The end of a power couple. Yandy's silence speaks louder than words." Mendeecees, meanwhile, was trying to find out who leaked the voicemail. He called Jasmine in a panic. "What did you do?" he demanded. Her tone was calm, almost smug. "I didn't leak anything," she said. "But maybe it's for the best. Now everyone knows the truth." He could hear the smirk in her voice. That was when it hit him he wasn't in control anymore. Jasmine had the kind of quiet power that came from knowing she could destroy him with a single post. Later that night, Yandy met with her lawyer again. She wanted to finalize the papers. No more waiting. The lawyer asked if she was sure. She nodded. "I've never been more sure," she said. Her voice didn't shake this time. She'd already cried her last tear over him. She wasn't walking away broken. She was walking away free. But while Yandy was closing one chapter, Jasmine was opening another. She agreed to do an exclusive sit-down interview with a popular online outlet. When it dropped, the internet exploded again. Jasmine appeared poised, wearing a sleek white outfit, speaking slowly, every word carefully chosen. "I didn't ruin their marriage," she said softly. "They were already broken before I came along." When asked if she loved Mendeecees, she smiled faintly. "You can't help who you connect with." The interviewer pressed harder. "So there was a connection." Jasmine paused, then replied, "I won't deny what's real." That sentence alone was enough to light up every gossip page in America. Fans were furious. The comment section turned brutal. "You're proud of breaking a family?" One person wrote. "This is disgusting." But Jasmine didn't care. She leaned back in her chair, lips curved in that same small, confident smile. For her, attention was power, and she was thriving on it. Mendeecees saw the interview from his phone, alone in his apartment. He slammed it down on the table, muttering curses under his breath. "She's lying," he whispered. Though part of him knew she wasn't. He had told her things he should have never said, intimate details about his marriage, about Yandy's fears, her insecurities, her struggles balancing family and fame. Now Jasmine was weaponizing those confessions to paint herself as the victim. By the end of the week, Yandy finally broke her silence. She posted a simple video on her Instagram, no makeup, no music, just her sitting in front of the camera. "I've been quiet because sometimes silence protects your peace," she began. Her voice was calm, steady, but heavy with pain. "I gave my all to someone who didn't value it. I stood beside him when the world turned its back. I believed in us even when people told me not to, but believing alone doesn't build a marriage." She paused, her eyes glistening. "I'm not here to bash anyone. I'm here to reclaim myself." The video went viral instantly. Fans flooded her comments with messages of support. "You're stronger than ever, Yandy," one said. "You deserve peace." Celebrities chimed in too, calling her grace inspiring. But behind that composed face, she was still healing from years of emotional exhaustion. That night, she sat alone on her couch, scrolling through messages she'd never read before, women sharing their own stories of betrayal, telling her how she gave them courage. She realized that her pain had turned into something bigger than hurt, had become a mirror for others. Mendeecees watched that same video hours later, his heart heavy. For the first time, he saw her not as the woman who loved him, but as the one who finally chose herself. He called her one last time. She didn't pick up. He left a voicemail instead. "Yeah, I know you don't want to hear my voice. I just want you to know, I never stopped loving you. I messed up, and I know sorry doesn't fix it, but I mean it. I'm sorry for everything." He hung up before he could say more. She listened to that message once, then deleted it. Still, the media refused to let the story die. Every network wanted her first on-camera reaction to Jasmine's interview. She declined them all. Instead, she chose to appear on a women's empowerment podcast, where the conversation focused not on gossip, but growth. "When you lose everything, you find out what's real," she said. "Sometimes that's peace. Sometimes that's pain. But it's always truth." Her words trended again, not as gossip, but as empowerment. But just when the world began to move on, Jasmine dropped another bombshell. She posted a photo that sent fans into meltdown. It was a picture of her sitting in a car, and on her wrist a watch identical to the one Yandy had gifted Mendeecees last Christmas. Her caption read, "Some gifts never lose value." The internet went insane. People started tagging Yandy again, begging her to respond. She didn't. She didn't have to. Within hours, Mendeecees unfollowed Jasmine and deleted every recent post on his profile. It was too late though. The damage was permanent. Fans had already made their judgment. To them, Jasmine was the villain, Mendeecees the fool, and Yandy the survivor. And while that narrative gave Yandy sympathy, it also locked her into a new kind of spotlight, one that forced her to relive her heartbreak daily. Every time she logged online, there it was. Her story, her pain, her name in bold letters next to his betrayal. Late one night, she called her best friend and said, "I just want my peace back." The friend replied, "You already have it. You just need to stop looking for it in the same place you lost it." Those words stuck with her. The next day, she packed the last of Mendeecees' things into boxes, called a delivery service, and sent them to his apartment with a short note. "Take care of yourself." Nothing more. As the boxers left her home, Yandy felt something lift from her chest. For the first time in years, she wasn't carrying his mistakes anymore. She was free, but the world wasn't done watching. Because while everyone thought the drama had reached its peak, a new twist was brewing, one that would drag the entire family into chaos once again, and expose secrets that even Yandy didn't know existed. As the whispers grew louder, Yandy's world began to tremble under the weight of rumors she had fought to ignore. For weeks, friends had sent her screenshots, blurry pictures, and anonymous tips about Mendeecees being spotted with a mystery woman. At first, she brushed them off, convincing herself it was all fabricated gossip. But the night she saw the photo, his hand resting on a woman's lower back, both smiling like they had no care in the world, something inside her snapped. She didn't cry right away. She sat in silence, scrolling through the comments beneath the leaked image, each one slicing deeper. He'd been cheating for years. Yandy deserves better. She knew though. The internet was brutal. And for the first time, she didn't rush to control the story. She let the chaos unfold. Meanwhile, Mendeecees tried to reach her, sending messages she refused to open. He claimed the woman was just a business associate, but the tone of his voice when he finally got through said otherwise. The tension between them wasn't new, but this time it felt final. Years of trying to rebuild trust after his prison stint, years of public loyalty despite private pain, all began to collapse. Friends close to Yandy said she had been warning him for months that she was done protecting his image. She had carried his reputation like a burden, but this public embarrassment was the last straw. And yet, deep down, what hurt her most wasn't the cheating itself, but the disrespect. The quiet humiliation of finding out with the rest of the world. While the blogs ran headlines and gossip pages flooded with speculation, cameras caught Yandy outside her Manhattan apartment wearing sunglasses and no makeup. Her silence spoke louder than any post could. Insiders whispered that she was preparing to speak her truth on her own platform. But what nobody expected was how raw and final her statement would be. That night, she went live, her voice calm but sharp, every word deliberate. She said she was tired of lies, tired of pretending, tired of playing the strong woman for someone who refused to grow up. "I'm done for real," she said, the phrase that would later trend across every gossip outlet. She didn't yell, she didn't cry. She simply looked into the camera and said what she had probably rehearsed 100 times in her head. The comments section exploded. Thousands of hearts, broken emojis, and "we love you" Yandy messages flooded in. But somewhere beneath the support was confusion. What exactly had Mendeecees done? Who was the mystery woman? Within hours, blogs began digging deeper. One page posted a short clip of Mendeecees walking into a private lounge in Atlanta. The woman, dressed in a red fitted dress, had her arm linked through his. The video was grainy but damning. Fans identified her as Kayla, an event planner known to work with reality TV personalities. Speculation grew when Kayla suddenly made her account private, and a source claimed she had been spotted at Mendeecees' hotel earlier that week. While Mendeecees denied everything, his silence after Yandy's livestream said more than his words could. Producers from VH1 reportedly reached out to both parties, hoping to capture the unfolding drama for the next season of Love and Hip Hop, but Yandy refused. "This isn't a storyline," she told one producer coldly. "This is my life." Meanwhile, Mendeecees' camp tried to do damage control, insisting the video was being misinterpreted. But insiders revealed that tensions between the couple had been building long before the scandal. According to one close friend, Yandy had been living separately for weeks, claiming she needed space to think. Now, that space had turned into distance. Neither of them seemed ready to close. The situation reached another level when Mona Scott, the executive producer who had once been like family to both, tried to intervene. Mona reportedly called Yandy, urging her to handle things privately. But Yandy's response was simple: "The public didn't stay out of my business when I was loyal, so they'll hear me now that I'm done." It was a statement that sent shockwaves through the industry. Suddenly, it wasn't just about Mendeecees' alleged cheating, it was about a woman reclaiming her narrative. As Yandy's live reached millions of views, her tone shifted from heartbreak to liberation. She spoke about giving her best to someone who never learned to appreciate her. She spoke about peace, healing, and no longer needing to be the perfect wife in a story that no longer fit her. And somewhere in Atlanta, as his phone buzzed nonstop, Mendeecees realized he had lost control of the one person who had always stood by him through scandal, prison, and public criticism. That night, he posted a single message to his story: "Don't believe everything you see." But by then, it was too late. The image of the mystery woman had already burned itself into the minds of millions, and Yandy's declaration had cemented itself as the final chapter in their saga. Or so it seemed. In the days that followed Yandy's live, the internet erupted into a digital battlefield. Fan pages picked sides, podcasts dissected every line of her speech, and gossip blogs ran with the story like wildfire. Yandy finally breaks. One headline read, "Mendeecees loses his queen," said another. While social media spun its own version of events, Yandy stayed quiet, posting only a single photo: a candlelit dinner table with an empty seat across from her. The caption read, "Peace costs distance." That one line became a statement for every woman who had ever reached her breaking point. Meanwhile, Mendeecees found himself drowning in backlash. Every appearance he made was met with whispers, camera flashes, and the question everyone wanted answered: who was the mystery woman? He tried to laugh it off during a brief encounter with paparazzi, saying, "Man, people believe anything these days," but his eyes told another story. He looked tired, cornered, and uncertain. Behind the scenes, his friends were urging him to lay low. One insider claimed he had flown to Miami to clear his head, though others said it was more of an escape than a retreat. The same weekend, Kayla, the woman at the center of the scandal, reappeared online. She posted a cryptic quote on her Instagram story that read, "Loyalty only matters to those who mean it." It didn't take long for fans to connect the dots. Within hours, her comment section was filled with accusations, threats, and speculation that she had been the reason for the breakup. Instead of denying it, she deleted the post, but the damage was done. Yandy's supporters flooded social media with messages of solidarity, turning her heartbreak into a movement. Hashtags like #DoneForReal and #YandyStandsAlone began trending. Women shared their own stories of betrayal, drawing strength from her public stand. Yandy, always known for her poise, refused to turn bitter. Those close to her said she was focusing on her kids, her business ventures, and most of all, her peace. But privately, she was still healing. Every time she saw his name online, every time someone tagged her in another rumor, it reopened the wound. One night, she reportedly told a friend, "I didn't lose him. I just stopped fighting for someone who wouldn't fight for me." That line soon leaked to a gossip page, and suddenly, Yandy's quiet strength became part of her new identity, the woman who walked away. Mendeecees, on the other hand, couldn't escape the narrative. Brands began reconsidering collaborations, fans demanded explanations, and old clips from Love and Hip Hop resurfaced, moments where Yandy had defended him on camera while he looked unbothered. Every frame now looked different. Every scene carried new meaning. People saw what they had missed before: her patience, his detachment. Still, some loyal followers defended him, saying the internet was quick to crucify black men in public relationships. One even wrote, "Y'all act like Yandy perfect, let that man breathe." But the louder voices came from those who had watched her sacrifice for years. "We saw her ride for him," one fan tweeted. "If she's done, it's because she gave him every chance to do better." As the public kept dissecting their relationship, Mona Scott's team debated whether to address it on the show. It was reality gold. After all, heartbreak, betrayal, and a real-life implosion of a power couple. But Yandy was firm. She didn't want to be filmed crying or confronting him. "This isn't for ratings," she said during a production call. "It's my closure." Behind the scenes, Mendeecees reached out to her one last time. According to a source, he showed up unannounced at her office, hoping for a private talk. The meeting lasted only 15 minutes. She listened, arms crossed, expression unreadable. He apologized, saying he never meant to hurt her, that things got twisted, that the internet exaggerated everything. She didn't yell. She simply said, "It doesn't matter anymore." And that was it. He walked out, knowing the chapter had closed for good. After that, Yandy began to reclaim her life in small but powerful ways. She started working on a self-love initiative for women in toxic relationships, spoke on empowerment panels, and even partnered with mental health organizations to support emotional recovery after betrayal. Her glow returned, not the glam kind, but a quiet, peaceful one that came from finally putting herself first. Mendeecees, meanwhile, stayed off social media for a while. His publicist tried to spin the story, suggesting the mystery woman was part of a business deal gone wrong, but fans didn't buy it. Every new explanation sounded like an excuse. And when Kayla was spotted again, this time at a concert wearing the same chain Mendeecees had been seen with in older photos, the narrative solidified. He was guilty in the court of public opinion. As for Yandy, she began traveling again. Videos surfaced of her dancing, laughing, and enjoying herself, something her fans hadn't seen in a long time. "She looks free," one comment read. And maybe that was the truth. She wasn't just single. She was finally free from a love that had drained her. The world watched, still hungry for updates, still hoping for a reunion, but deep down, everyone knew the story had shifted. This was no longer about Yandy and Mendeecees as a couple. It was about Yandy, the woman, finding herself after years of standing in someone else's shadow. Weeks turned into months, and the chaos slowly began to quiet, but the silence didn't mean peace. Behind closed doors, both Yandy and Mendeecees were still living in the aftermath of what had been the loudest public breakup reality TV had seen in years. Fans thought they had moved on, but the truth was far from it. Yandy had thrown herself into work, trying to fill the spaces where love used to live. Every morning, she would open her laptop, schedule meetings, post motivational quotes, and smile for cameras, pretending that the ache in her chest wasn't still there. But late at night, when the world stopped talking and the notifications went quiet, she felt the weight of everything she had lost. She would scroll through old photos, moments from happier days, his arm around her, the kids laughing in the background, and for a brief second, she wondered if maybe things could have been fixed before they fell apart. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was stuck in a loop of regret. He had thought the storm would pass. That time would soften her anger. But when her lawyers served the final divorce documents, reality hit him like a punch to the gut. There it was in black and white, irreconcilable differences. He stared at that phrase for a long time, trying to convince himself that it didn't mean what it did. He called her that night. She didn't answer. He left a message, voice cracking halfway through, saying, "I never meant for it to end like this." She never called back. By the time the new season of Love and Hip Hop began filming, producers were in a frenzy. The audience wanted closure. Some wanted revenge. Others wanted redemption. Mona Scott knew this story was too big to ignore. She called Yandy personally, offering her full creative control if she agreed to tell her side on camera. After days of hesitation, Yandy finally said yes, but she set one condition: she would not talk about Kayla. The story would be about healing, not him. When the episode aired, it was unlike anything fans had seen before. No shouting matches, no tears thrown for the camera, just Yandy sitting in her living room, talking honestly about love, trust, and how silence sometimes hurts more than lies. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of 1,000 unsaid words. "When someone shows you who they are," she said softly, "you can't keep repainting them with the colors you wish they had." The internet went wild. Clips of her speech spread across TikTok and Instagram, with millions calling it the moment Yandy got her power back. Even celebrities reposted it with captions like "Queen Energy" and "Healing looks good on you." Her brand deals skyrocketed. She became a spokesperson for emotional recovery, appearing on talk shows and podcasts. Fans who once watched her cry now watched her rise. But as she rebuilt her empire, Mendeecees' world continued to crumble. The show painted him as the man who threw everything away, and no amount of denial could fix that. He refused to film his segment at first, telling producers he didn't want to feed the narrative, but they convinced him, promising to show his side too. His scenes, however, told a different story. In one, he sat alone in his kitchen, staring at a half-empty glass of whiskey. "I didn't cheat," he said, shaking his head, "but I did mess up. I let too many people in our circle. I stopped protecting what mattered." His confession was raw, but for many, it came too late. The world had already decided he was guilty. Kayla, meanwhile, vanished from social media altogether. Her accounts went dark. Her name Rumor had it she had left Atlanta after receiving threats from fans. One insider said she had tried to contact Mendeecees again, begging him to tell the truth publicly, but he ignored her. He was trying to salvage what little reputation he had left. Still, whispers of her resurfaced. One blogger claimed Kayla was pregnant, though no evidence ever appeared. The rumor died, but it left a scar on his image that never healed. Then came the twist no one expected. At a charity event in New York, months after the divorce became official, Yandy and Mendeecees crossed paths for the first time. Cameras weren't supposed to be there, but of course, they were. Yandy was radiant in a cream dress, her hair pulled back, her smile effortless. Mendeecees stood across the room, wearing a quiet expression, part pride, part pain. For a few seconds, they locked eyes. There were no words, no scene, no drama. Just that heavy silence between two people who had once shared everything. The video of that moment leaked online hours later, and the internet lost its mind. Some swore they saw love still there. Others said it looked like regret. After that night, fans began rooting for a reunion. They belonged together. One comment read, "You can't fake chemistry like that." But behind the scenes, Yandy had already made peace with her decision. She told a friend, "I don't hate him. I just don't want to be broken again." And that was the truth. She had forgiven him, but she couldn't forget. Forgiveness had set her free, but forgetting would have chained her back to the same pain she had worked so hard to escape. A few weeks later, Yandy traveled to Ghana for a women's empowerment conference. It was her first international speaking engagement since the divorce. On stage, she shared pieces of her story without naming names, speaking about rebuilding identity after betrayal. Her words struck deep. "We think losing someone means we lose love," she told the audience. "But sometimes, love doesn't leave, it just changes direction." The crowd erupted in applause. Clips from the event went viral again. She had turned her pain into purpose, and for the first time in a long time, she looked genuinely happy. Mendeecees watched the speech from his hotel room. He didn't comment, didn't call, didn't post, but a friend who was with him said he watched the clip twice, then whispered, "She really gone." That night, he drafted a message to her, not a text, but a letter. Handwritten pages filled with memories, apologies, and words he should have said years ago. He didn't send it. He folded it neatly, placed it in a drawer, and left it there. Back in New York, Yandy continued to thrive. Her podcast on self-worth became a hit, her followers doubled. And even those who once doubted her now admired her growth. She was no longer Mendeecees' wife. She was Yandy Smith, the woman who turned public heartbreak into a blueprint for healing. Yet, even in her newfound strength, there were moments when the past echoed. Every now and then, she'd see an old photo pop up on her memories and smile faintly, not with pain, but with gratitude. She had survived what was meant to destroy her. Then, in a surprising turn, Mendeecees made a quiet return to social media after months of silence. His first post was a black and white photo of his kids with the caption, "For them, I'll always be better." Comments poured in, some angry, some supportive. A few fans even tagged Yandy, asking if she had seen it. She didn't respond, but those close to her said she did see it, and she smiled. "He's learning," she said simply, and maybe that was the closest they would ever get to closure. But the internet wasn't ready to let go. Rumors of a tell-all interview started circulating. Insiders claimed Mona Scott was planning a reunion special where both would sit down face-to-face for the first time since the breakup. When asked, Yandy's team neither confirmed nor denied it. Fans waited impatiently, desperate for one last chapter. Would they reconcile, or would they finally close the book for good? The speculation was endless. Even those who claimed they were over it secretly kept refreshing their feeds for updates. As the tension built, one final leak hit the blogs. An old voicemail of Mendeecees pleading with Yandy, saying, "I can't fix what's gone, but I can still love you right." No one knew who leaked it, but once it hit the internet, there was no turning back. It reignited everything. Suddenly, the world was back in their business, analyzing tone, timing, intent. But this time, Yandy didn't flinch. She didn't issue a statement, didn't feed the fire. She had learned that silence was her strongest weapon. 1 week later, she posted a photo of herself standing by the ocean, dressed in white, with the caption, "The storm never wins." No tags, no explanation, no shade. And just like that, the narrative ended on her terms. She had walked through the chaos, faced every rumor, endured every lie, and still stood tall. Fans called her the phoenix of reality TV, rising from ashes that others tried to bury her in. For Mendeecees, the journey was slower. He began attending therapy, speaking at community centers about accountability and family. He wasn't the villain anymore, but he wasn't the hero either. He was just human, flawed, learning, and quietly trying to become someone better than who he was when he lost her. And maybe that was the real ending, not reconciliation, not revenge, but growth. The kind that doesn't trend, doesn't make headlines, but lasts. Because sometimes, the real story isn't about who cheated or who left. It's about who learned to love themselves enough to finally stop bleeding for someone who never learned how to hold them. Spring arrived in New York with the kind of warmth that always reminded Yandy of renewal. For the first time in what felt like forever, she didn't wake up with the weight of heartbreak pressing on her chest. Her mornings were quiet now, coffee by the window, light music in the background, and her kids' laughter echoing through the apartment. She had rebuilt her life from the inside out. What once felt like the end had become her greatest beginning. Still, even peace has its ghosts. Every so often, she would catch a glimpse of Mendeecees on television, or hear his name mentioned in passing. And though her heart didn't ache anymore, it always paused. There was a time when that name meant safety. Now it was just a memory, soft, distant, and closed. One afternoon, during a business lunch in Harlem, a mutual acquaintance mentioned him. "He's different now," they said, really trying to make amends. "He even mentors young men coming out of prison." Yandy nodded politely, but said nothing. She had learned that forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion. Still, that night, when she lay in bed scrolling through her phone, curiosity got the better of her. She searched his name. The latest photo showed him standing in front of a community center, smiling with a group of teenagers. The caption read, "Every mistake is a lesson, if you let it humble you." She stared at it for a moment, then locked her phone and turned off the light. For the first time, the thought of him didn't hurt. It just felt finished. While she moved forward, so did her career. Her empowerment initiative turned into a national movement. Talk shows, magazines, brand deals. Yandy was everywhere. Not for scandal, but for strength. She became the face of survival, the woman who refused to crumble under betrayal. Every word she spoke carried quiet conviction. People looked at her not as someone who had been broken, but as someone who had rebuilt herself brick by brick. Her story inspired others to walk away from what no longer served them. And though she rarely spoke about Mendeecees, when she did, her words were layered with grace. Sometimes, she said in one interview, "You love someone deeply and still have to let them go because staying would mean losing yourself." That line went viral again, shared by millions. Mendeecees watched it too. He was in Atlanta for a charity basketball game when he saw the clip. He didn't turn it off. He watched until the end, his expression unreadable. Later that night, he told a friend, "She really did become everything I always said she could be, just without me." It wasn't bitterness. It was truth. He knew he had played a part in his own downfall. His choices had turned what could have been forever into what was now only history. And though he'd moved on from the scandal, a quiet guilt lived with him still. He had hurt someone who never deserved it. The world, however, loves second chances, and rumors began to swirl again. A gossip blog posted a blurry photo of them at the same restaurant, different tables, same night, and immediately headlines screamed, "Yandy and Mendeecees spotted together again." It wasn't true, but the internet didn't care. Within hours, theories spread that they were secretly working things out, that love had found its way back. Yandy laughed when she saw it. She texted a friend, "They really want a sequel that doesn't exist." Still, deep down, she knew the narrative would never fully die. When love had been that public, people always wanted to believe it could come back. Then came an unexpected call. Not from him, but from Mona Scott's office. They were planning a reunion special for the 10-year anniversary of Love and Hip Hop, New York. Every major cast member would be invited, and yes, that included Mendeecees. Yandy hesitated. The last time they had shared a screen, everything had fallen apart. "It's been years," Mona told her. "The fans deserve to see how far you've both come." After a few days of thinking, Yandy agreed on one condition: no fake reconciliation, no staged tears, just truth. The reunion taping was electric from the start. Old faces, old feuds, and nostalgia mixed with tension. When Yandy walked on stage, the audience erupted in applause. Mendeecees, already seated, looked up as she approached. For a split second, their eyes met, and the crowd went silent. Mona wasted no time addressing the elephant in the room. So, she began, "Yandy, Mendeecees, it's been a journey. Where do you two stand now?" Yandy smiled faintly and answered first. "We're in a place of peace," she said. "Life happens. People grow, and sometimes they grow apart. But I'll always respect him as the father of my children." It was composed, diplomatic, perfect. The audience nodded, clearly touched. Then Mona turned to Mendeecees. "Do you have any regrets?" He took a breath. "Yeah," he said quietly. "A lot. I wish I had listened more. I wish I had protected her the way she protected me." The room fell still. Even Yandy's composure cracked slightly. There was no acting in his tone, just raw remorse. "But," he continued, "I'm grateful she found her peace, even if it wasn't with me." Yandy looked down for a moment, then nodded. It was closure, spoken out loud for the world to hear. After the taping ended, they shared a brief hug backstage, not romantic, not forced, just two people acknowledging the history they shared. Someone snapped a photo. It went viral before they even left the building. "Yandy and Mendeecees reunite with love and respect," the headlines read. Fans flooded the comments with tears and heart emojis, but those who looked closely saw the truth. Their smiles didn't hold longing anymore. They held acceptance. In the months that followed, the noise around them faded once again. Yandy continued her advocacy work, launching programs for young women and writing her first book, Done for Real, Lessons from Letting Go. It became a bestseller within weeks. Each chapter chronicled a piece of her journey, the rise, the fall, the healing. She never used names, but everyone knew who the story was about. When asked if she feared reopening old wounds, she simply said, "You can't heal what you refuse to face." Mendeecees bought a small property outside Atlanta and started a mentorship program for youth. He kept his circle small, focused on family and redemption. He didn't chase the spotlight anymore. Occasionally, he would post reflective messages about growth and accountability, and his followers noticed the shift. He was softer now, more thoughtful. One post read, "I used to think love was about who stayed. Now I know it's about who learns." Fans flooded the comments with praise, some tagging Yandy again, but this time, she didn't mind. She had learned that healing didn't erase history, it transformed it. Then, during a radio interview, a host asked her point blank, "If Mendeecees apologized to you privately and meant it, would you ever consider being friends again?" She paused before answering. "We don't need to be friends to forgive each other," she said. "Some people belong to your past, not your present, and that's okay. I wish him well, truly." Her tone was calm, confident. It was the kind of grace that only comes from finally being at peace with the story you lived through. By the end of that year, both had fully stepped into new versions of themselves. Yandy's foundation expanded internationally. Mendeecees opened to more community centers. They no longer defined each other's headlines. Yet their names would always be linked in pop culture history, not for the drama that tore them apart, but for the strength that followed. Still, every now and then, something small would remind them of what once was a song on the radio, a photo from the past, a memory triggered by the kids. One night, when their son had a school recital, both showed up. They greeted each other with a warm smile, exchanged a few words, and sat in separate rows. When the performance ended, they took a photo together with the kids, just like old times. Fans later saw the picture on social media and went wild again. But this time, there was no chaos, no gossip, no speculation. Just two people, co-parents, showing that love doesn't always have to end to change shape. As the night ended and everyone left the auditorium, Yandy walked out into the cool air, looked up at the stars, and smiled. Mendeecees stood nearby, watching the kids run ahead. For a brief second, their eyes met again, and this time, there was nothing left unsaid. No bitterness, no longing, no regret. Just peace. Because in the end, that's where every storm leads, not back to what was lost, but forward to what's finally whole. And for Yandy, that peace was the greatest love story of all. Yandy's silence had begun to speak louder than any interview she could have given. After the viral video of Mendeecees with the mystery woman, fans waited for a statement, a post, anything. But Yandy stayed quiet. The quiet was strategic, cold and heavy. It was the kind of silence that comes from a woman who has cried already. From someone who has accepted the truth but is still deciding how to handle it in public. People close to her said she wasn't shocked. They claimed she'd felt something was wrong for months. The distance, the excuses, the late-night business meetings. It wasn't the act of betrayal that broke her, it was the confirmation of what she already knew. The internet, however, didn't believe she was done. They had seen this before. They remembered the cheating rumors, the jail time, the promises, the reconciliation. Yandy always forgives, one fan wrote under her old post. She's strong, but she always takes him back. But this time felt different. She wasn't defending him. She wasn't liking his posts. She wasn't even pretending everything was fine for the sake of the brand. Insiders said she told production that she wouldn't film any couple scenes with Mendeecees for the upcoming Love and Hip Hop season. That one decision sent shockwaves through VH1. Without their chemistry, without their dynamic, the storyline that had carried the show for years would collapse. Mona Scott was reportedly furious. She had built entire arcs around their love story, his prison release, their family struggles, the redemption narrative. Now, she was watching it unravel in real time. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was panicking. He wanted to talk. He wanted to fix the public image before it was too late. But the problem wasn't just Yandy anymore. The problem was the mystery woman. She wasn't disappearing quietly like side pieces usually do when the spotlight hits. She was enjoying the attention. New photos appeared. A blurred video of her in a restaurant. A suspicious Instagram live where a voice sounding like Mendeecees could be heard in the background. The Shade Room picked it up, and within hours, the clip had over 1 million views. People started connecting dots, identifying the restaurant, tracing flight dates. Fans found that Mendeecees had been in Atlanta the same night the woman posted a private dinner story. Everything lined up too perfectly to be coincidence. As the storm grew, Yandy was photographed outside her home wearing a black hoodie and sunglasses. Her phone in one hand, her expression unreadable. She didn't stop for paparazzi. She didn't smile. Just walked to her car and drove off. Inside sources said she was meeting her legal team. That detail alone set social media on fire. Was she filing for divorce? Was she cutting business ties? Because Mendeecees wasn't just her husband, he was her business partner. They co-owned several ventures, including real estate and management companies. A split wouldn't just be emotional, it would be financial warfare. Mendeecees, meanwhile, was still posting. Not about the scandal, but random motivational quotes. One caption read, "The truth always comes to light, and I'm not afraid of it." Fans tore him apart in the comments. "You should be," one wrote, "because that light just exposed you." But behind the scenes, things were uglier than the public knew. Mendeecees had tried calling Yandy repeatedly. She ignored him. When he finally showed up at her office, security was instructed not to let him in. He stood outside, calling, texting, pleading, but the door stayed shut. People who saw him there said he looked lost, like a man realizing too late that the woman he thought would never leave him already had. Still, the story wasn't over. The mystery woman, now emboldened by her sudden fame, gave her first interview to a low-level podcast. She didn't name names, but she didn't need to. Every hint pointed straight at Mendeecees. She described a man who was tired of pretending, Someone who told her he was done with his marriage but was stuck because of the cameras. The host pushed her for more, and she smiled coyly. Let's just say, actions speak louder than contracts. That one line was enough to detonate the internet again. Fans clipped it, quoted it, dissected it. When Yandy saw it, she didn't cry. She didn't rage. She just closed her laptop and said quietly to a friend, "He finally did it. He made me stop loving him." That was the last anyone heard from her for weeks. Rumors swirled that she had taken the kids and left the city. Then came the photos from Jamaica. Yandy smiling on the beach, surrounded by friends, looking at peace for the first time in months. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was reclaiming her narrative. Under one post, she wrote, "Sometimes you don't need closure. You just need distance." Mendeecees, meanwhile, was losing control of his own image. Sponsors were backing out. A deal he had been negotiating for a podcast collapsed after the scandal. VH1 executives began editing his scenes down, unsure how the audience would react. In meetings, Mona Scott reportedly said, "We can't save everyone," and she meant it. The network was moving forward with or without him. One night, Mendeecees went live on Instagram. It was unplanned, raw, and desperate. "I'm not perfect," he said, voice trembling, "but I love my wife. I love my family. Don't believe everything y'all see online." The comments flooded instantly. Some begged Yandy to forgive him. Others told him to stop lying. One even wrote, "Bro, you were literally caught in 4K. The live didn't help. In fact, it made things worse." Clips of him stuttering and contradicting himself went viral. Within hours, even celebrities were weighing in. K. Michelle tweeted, "Men love peace until they realize peace don't include them." By now, it wasn't just gossip. It had become a cultural conversation about loyalty, about boundaries, about what women owe men who have already broken them once. Talk shows debated it. Podcasts analyzed it. Everywhere you turned, someone was talking about Yandy and Mendeecees. Then came the turning point. One of Yandy's close friends leaked a voice note allegedly from Mendeecees, where he admitted to making mistakes but insisted he was man enough to fix them. The tone, however, didn't sound like remorse. It sounded like entitlement. Fans called it manipulative. They said it was typically apologizing only after being caught. Yandy, instead of reacting, made her move quietly. She changed her Instagram bio from wife to mom, entrepreneur, and believer. That single update made headlines. Every outlet from TMZ to Page 6 ran with it. Yandy officially done with Mendeecees. They wrote, but behind the scenes, the story had one final twist brewing. One that even Yandy didn't see coming. A new photo surfaced. It wasn't recent, it was from weeks before the scandal broke. It showed Mendeecees and the mystery woman outside a recording studio, looking comfortable, too comfortable. What made it explosive wasn't the timing. It was the fact that Yandy's brother was also in the photo. That meant someone from her inner circle had known all along. Weeks. Rumors swirled that she had taken the kids and left the city. Then came the photos from Jamaica. Yandy smiling on the beach, surrounded by friends, looking at peace for the first time in months. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was reclaiming her narrative. Under one post, she wrote, "Sometimes you don't need closure. You just need distance." Mendeecees, meanwhile, was losing control of his own image. Sponsors were backing out. A deal he had been negotiating for a podcast collapsed after the scandal. VH1 executives began editing his scenes down, unsure how the audience would react. In meetings, Mona Scott reportedly said, "We can't save everyone," and she meant it. The network was moving forward with or without him. One night, Mendeecees went live on Instagram. It was unplanned, raw, and desperate. "I'm not perfect," he said, voice trembling, "but I love my wife. I love my family. Don't believe everything y'all see online." The comments flooded instantly. Some begged Yandy to forgive him. Others told him to stop lying. One even wrote, "Bro, you were literally caught in 4K. The live didn't help. In fact, it made things worse." Clips of him stuttering and contradicting himself went viral. Within hours, even celebrities were weighing in. K. Michelle tweeted, "Men love peace until they realize peace don't include them." By now, it wasn't just gossip. It had become a cultural conversation about loyalty, about boundaries, about what women owe men who have already broken them once. Talk shows debated it. Podcasts analyzed it. Everywhere you turned, someone was talking about Yandy and Mendeecees. Then came the turning point. One of Yandy's close friends leaked a voice note allegedly from Mendeecees, where he admitted to making mistakes but insisted he was man enough to fix them. The tone, however, didn't sound like remorse. It sounded like entitlement. Fans called it manipulative. They said it was typical apologizing only after being caught. Yandy, instead of reacting, made her move quietly. She changed her Instagram bio from wife to mom, entrepreneur, and believer. That single update made headlines. Every outlet from TMZ to Page 6 ran with it. Yandy officially done with Mendeecees, they wrote, but behind the scenes, the story had one final twist brewing, one that even Yandy didn't see coming. A new photo surfaced. It wasn't recent, it was from weeks before the scandal broke. It showed Mendeecees and the mystery woman outside a recording studio, looking comfortable, too comfortable. What made it explosive wasn't the timing. It was the fact that Yandy's brother was also in the photo. That meant someone from her inner circle had known all along. Someone she trusted had kept quiet. That revelation shattered her. It wasn't just betrayal from her husband anymore, it was betrayal from within her own circle. She called her brother, demanded answers, and when he couldn't explain, she hung up. That was the night she made the decision that would change everything. She contacted her publicist and said, "Release the statement tomorrow morning." What came next would redefine not just her marriage, but her entire image in the entertainment world. Because when Yandy finally broke her silence, she didn't cry, she didn't plead, she didn't play victim. She spoke with the calm authority of a woman who had rebuilt herself piece by piece. And this time, wasn't afraid to burn down the old life that no longer served her. And as the clock ticked toward that morning statement, the whole industry waited because everyone knew, when Yandy Smith finally spoke, the truth would hit harder than any scandal before. The morning came quietly, but the internet wasn't quiet at all. Everyone woke up waiting for Yandy's statement. Fans refreshed her Instagram page every few minutes. Blogs had their headlines ready. Even VH1's official account paused its regular posts. They all knew whatever she was about to say would either end this chapter or set it on fire. Then, at 10:03 a.m., it happened. A single black and white post appeared on her page. No picture of her face, no music, just a white background with a long caption written in her voice, calm, composed, and final. "To my supporters, to my family, and to the people who have loved me through every storm, thank you. I've spent years protecting an image that stopped protecting me. I've carried someone else's mistakes as if they were my own, and I'm done doing that. This time, I choose peace. Not silence, not denial, but peace. I've learned that love without honesty is not love, it's performance. And I no longer perform." The internet exploded. Her name started trending instantly. Yandy finally done, and Queen Energy became top hash. Celebrities reposted her message. Erica Mena commented, "This is how you take your power back." Even Cardi B liked the post, which only made it spread faster. Mendeecees saw the statement while sitting in his car outside the studio. For a moment, he didn't move. He read the words over and over, hoping he was misreading them. But he wasn't. It was over. He called her. She didn't answer. He texted her. No response. His publicist told him to stay off social media, but he couldn't resist. 2 hours later, he posted a photo of himself holding his wedding ring with the caption, "I'll always love you, even if you stop loving me." The comments were brutal. Fans called it performative. Some accused him of trying to play victim. "Should have thought of that before the mystery woman," one wrote. Within minutes, Shade Room reposted it side by side with Yandy's statement. The contrast was sharp, her dignity versus his desperation. Behind the scenes, VH1 executives went into emergency meetings. They knew this wasn't just a scandal, it was a storyline collapsing mid-season. Production sources leaked that Mona Scott was furious because the footage they had filmed was now unusable. Yandy had told producers she wouldn't return for reshoots. She said her life wasn't a redemption arc for men who can't grow up. The quote leaked, of course, and fans turned it into a viral meme. Mendeecees tried damage control. He gave a brief interview to a local outlet, trying to sound mature. "Relationships are complicated," he said. "I made mistakes, but I'm human. I still believe in family." But what should have been his moment of reflection came off as shallow. The interviewer asked if he was still in contact with the mystery woman, and he hesitated before saying, "We've spoken, but not in that way." That pause destroyed whatever credibility he had left. By nightfall, new leaks appeared, text screenshots, allegedly between Mendeecees and the mystery woman, showing him begging her to stay low until things blew over. Her replies were smug, full of winking emojis. Nobody knew if they were real, but it didn't matter. The narrative had already taken shape. Yandy, on the other hand, was already moving differently. Her team began scheduling interviews, but only with major outlets, no gossip shows. She wanted to control her story. When she finally sat down with Essence magazine, the tone was serious. She didn't attack Mendeecees. She didn't mention the mystery woman by name. She simply said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them. I believed the version I created in my head, not the man standing in front of me, that other, but occasionally they were seen at family events for their kids cordial, respectful, distant. And though the scandal had begun as another piece of celebrity drama, it had evolved into something deeper, a lesson in what happens when love, fame, and pride collide. Fans still debated who was right and who was wrong. But the truth was simpler. Yandy had walked away, not in anger, but in freedom. And in a world addicted to noise, her silence had become the loudest statement of all. And here we are, at the point where the story stops, but the conversation is just beginning. You've witnessed the heartbreak, the betrayals, the shocking revelations, and the ultimate rise of Yandy as a woman who reclaimed her life, her power, and her peace. It's more than just entertainment, it's a reminder of how resilience looks in real life, even when that real life is magnified under the public eye. Now, take a moment to reflect. How often do we see someone endure such public scrutiny and still emerge stronger, more composed, and more in control of their own narrative? It's rare, and it's what makes this story so compelling, so unforgettable. If you've been following every twist and turn, you know that drama isn't just about cheating or scandals, it's about choices, consequences, and, most importantly, how you respond when everything you thought you had is stripped away. Yandy's journey teaches a universal lesson. You cannot control others. You cannot rewrite the past, but you can always control your response, your growth, and your story. The courage to walk away, to set boundaries, and to prioritize your peace is a message every one of us can carry into our own lives. But let's not stop there. This is your chance to engage, to be part of the conversation that the world is buzzing about. What do you think about Yandy's handling of the scandal? Did she act wisely, or do you believe there were other choices she could have made? And what about Mendeecees? Was he genuinely remorseful, or was it all performance for the cameras? Fans are divided, and your opinion matters. Comment below with what you think happened behind the scenes, how you would have handled the situation, and whether public accountability really changes someone. The beauty of stories like this is how they spark debate, reflection, and sometimes even personal growth in ways we don't expect. While you're here, remember that these stories don't exist in isolation. They reflect themes we all encounter: trust, betrayal, forgiveness, self-respect, and resilience. By engaging with this story, you're not just keeping up with celebrity drama, you're exploring complex human emotions, questioning morality, and witnessing transformation on a scale most of us will never experience personally. And the discussion doesn't end with this video. Share it with friends, start conversations, and see how different perspectives shed new light on every decision, every reaction, and every consequence. If you've been captivated by every twist in this saga, make sure you don't miss future updates. Subscribe to the channel for exclusive coverage, behind-the-scenes insights, and in-depth analysis of all the drama that continues to shape the world of love and hip-hop and beyond. Turn on notifications so you're always the first to know when new revelations drop, because in the world of celebrity stories, timing is everything, and every new clip, every leaked conversation, can completely shift the narrative overnight. And don't forget to hit that like button if you've been glued to this story from the first moment. It helps the channel grow and ensures we can bring even more detailed breakdowns, commentary, and exclusive storytelling directly to you. Your engagement shapes what content gets prioritized, what interviews are covered, and what scandals are unpacked with the depth they deserve. You, the viewer, are the reason these stories don't just fade into gossip, they evolve into conversations that the entire internet watches, debates, and dissects together. Beyond just watching, we want to hear your voice. In the comments section, share your thoughts, your theories, your predictions. Who do you think will rebound, stronger, Yandy or Mendeecees? Do you believe the mystery woman will return into the narrative, or has her chapter truly ended? Fans are already sharing insights, theories, and even alternative versions of events, and your input can add to the collective understanding of how this scandal unfolded. Your comment could spark another conversation, another viral thread, or even influence future episodes of coverage. Most importantly, take inspiration from Yandy's story. Let it remind you that no matter how public, messy, or chaotic life becomes, reclaiming your voice, your power, and your peace is always possible. Everyone watching this has faced challenges where trust was broken, where betrayal left scars, or where public perception tried to define their worth. Yandy's response shows that strength is not in avoidance or revenge, it's in the calm, deliberate choice to honor yourself above all else. So engage, reflect, and share. Like, comment, subscribe, and keep the conversation alive. Every click, every share, Every discussion spreads the story wider, giving everyone the chance to witness how human emotion, resilience, and choice play out on a stage bigger than life itself. And as we continue to bring you updates on Yandy Mendeecees and all the drama swirling around love and hip-hop, remember to carry the lessons into your own life, set boundaries, demand respect, and never underestimate the power of walking away with dignity. Now, it's your turn. What do you think will happen next? Will Mendeecees find redemption, or has he lost this chapter forever? Will Yandy continue to thrive, or will new twists challenge her peace? Comment below and let us know, because in a story this explosive, every opinion counts. Every insight matters, and every voice adds to the narrative. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and remember, life may imitate drama, but we all have the power to script our own ending.